G'day all, it's Colin from PCTLC and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be, been looking at doing this for a long time, installing Debian 9.6. I've been playing around with it a bit because I wasn't 100% sure exactly how these things work in Debian. So maybe we'll do an install first and then maybe a look around and a setup video as well on how I see is the best way to set it up, and whether you want to do it with going to the unstable or just running stable and things like that. So, and what I've experienced so far with running Debian. Now I just deleted a Virtualbox of Debian, so I'm going to create a new one. So let's do that first. It's Debian 9.6. 64-bit, yep. Let's give it 6 gigs of RAM there, I think should be good enough. And about 15, 16 gigs should be alright just to create this video. Now we need to display, storage, Debian 9.6, network bridged adapter, and that should get me going for now. So let's start that and do an install. So maybe what I'll do, we'll do a graphical install, so that's what we'll start with. And maybe I'll do a scale mode, so we can host and C to get back, okay. Okay, let's continue that. Set your location. Keyboard is American English. Okay, the host name of the system is normally the system that will show up as on your home network. So let's call this a Debian Virt, which is short for Virtualbox. Let's continue that. The domain, I don't need to do anything there. I don't have a domain. Set up a user's password, tab. Please enter the real name of this user. So the real name. And the username. Yep, that'll do. It's what I like to use. Another password for the user. Western Australia. So we could use guided in the entire disk. I'm going to go manual on this occasion, just to show you how the manual partitioning works in Debian. So we've got to choose our hard drive. So this is the hard drive here. You've selected an entire device. Yep. Note that you'll be able to undo this operation later if you wish. So create new empty partition table on this device. Yes. So what we do is choose the hard drive, the free space, enter, create a new partition. Now, so I'm going to do, for this one, give it some swap, say 1 gig swap. So we'll do 1 gig and press the tab key till the continue button is highlighted and then enter. We'll make it a primary from the beginning. Use as, now press enter there and go down to swap area. Enter. Use a swap, bootable flag off, because we don't need, it's not a bootable disk, it's a swap partition. Swap area. I thought we had to put swap on, but maybe we don't. So done setting up that partition. Go back to free space, create a new partition, enter. We'll give it 16 gigs, that's fine. Hit the tab key till it's lit up on continue. If you see, keep pressing tab, continue, yep, enter. Primary. Yep, use as ext4. Mount point is already selected as root, so enter. Mount options, don't need to worry about that. Bootable flag is on. And what's the options here? No, we don't need to worry about that. Go back, enter. Okay. Done setting up this partition. So that's all done. We've got our swap partition, we've got our primary partition, and we can undo the changes there if we're not happy with them. We can finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Hit the tab key. You can use your mouse on this. I'm just showing you how I do it with the keyboard. So hit the tab key, continue as highlighted, press enter. Now it'll ask you to write the changes to the disk or disks. And we'll go yes, I'm happy with that. Tab key to highlight continue, enter, and off we go. So the CD or DVD has been scanned. It's labelled Debian stretch and so forth. If you wish to scan another DVD or CD, scan another CD or DVD, no, I don't want to do that. Now Debian comes with about, I think, 4 disks you can download. It's only necessary to download the first one to install it. But however, you can download the others and you can choose to install things from those disks. I haven't really done that before, so I don't know what that process involves. But this is the way I normally do it anyway. So continue is highlighted, so we'll press enter. A network mirror can be used to supplement the software. Use a network mirror, yes. And we'll go Australia, and they do recommend FTP, but I have had problems with that one in the past. I think it just depends whether the mirrors are up or not. But when I do Linux Mint, I always come across, let's see, the RNet one. There's IINet and there's the RNet. So whatever you choose here is what will end up in your sources.list. So I'm going to choose RNet because that's normally reasonably reliable, that one there. So press the tab key to highlight continue, and let's continue that. I don't need a proxy, tab key, enter. Participate in the package usage survey. No, I don't want to do that because it's just a Virtualbox. Tab key, highlight, continue, and enter. Okay, so now we choose our desktop of choice. And normally with Debian, I normally go with the Gnome desktop. For a couple of reasons. It's reasonably quick to install. Plus, I don't mind using Gnome, so I'm happy with that. So if I press the space bar, that will check that off with a little tick. There we go. And you can choose to put in a web server here or an SSH server. I don't need any of those at the moment, so I'm just going to press the tab key and highlight continue, press enter. Right, so install the grub bootloader to the master boot record. Yes, that's what I'm going to do here. Tab key, highlight, continue and enter. And we'll install it to the SDA, yep. Tab key again, enter. And that is the installation complete. So we hit the tab key again till we highlight continue and we press enter, and that will finish the installation. Then we'll now reboot. And we will reboot into our fresh install. Okay, so we are in our newly installed Debian 9.6 Gnome desktop. So what we're going to do is a list of things that we need to do when we first get in here. So first of all, we're going to open the terminal. And I'll add that to favorites. So it has been added to favorites. Let's check that out. There it is there. Now to run as root, we're going to do su space and dash, enter and put in your password, root user password. Now we don't need to use sudo because we're running under root, so we're going to go apt update. Okay, so there is one thing that I did miss out, so we're going to close that for now. Close the terminal. We're going to open Synaptic, and this is what we need to do. It's assuming that we want to install things, and it's still pointing to the CD. So that's what it's doing. So we need to go to Settings, Repositories. We need to go to Other Software, and we need to uncheck that one there and close that and reload. And then it will probably give you a bunch of errors there regarding the key. So let's just open up terminal again now that we've done that. su dash and password. And then we apt update just to see what happens. So it's got a key error. So what we need to do there, these are the things that really took me a while to research with Debian, because there's quite a lot of this key errors go on all the time in Debian, and I don't really understand it. It's just a real pain in the backsides at times. So we're going to rm, which is remove, etc, etc, apt, and I'm pressing the tab key to autocomplete. The apt won't autocomplete until you write the whole word apt. Trusted.gpg. So we're going to remove that. That's what's normally recommended in this situation. And then we'll do an apt update. And as you can see, there's no more errors. All packages are up to date. So then we can do an apt upgrade. We'll try that. Newly installed new, so there's nothing to upgrade either. So we are very much up to date. So now the one thing I'm going to do is, now probably will install this on a laptop and do some things on real hardware as well, which I'm pretty keen to do. But I want to finish this off in Virtualbox in case somebody wants to try in Virtualbox. Now I will thank Serge for this, because he's the one who brought these commands to my attention. Now normally you can do these all at once, but I've found that I get errors when I do that. So I'm going to do these one at a time. Apt install build essential. Now there's a few times, and I've installed this probably 6-7 times in a VirtualBox from start to finish, and I kept getting different errors. I forgot which path I took and everything, so I've written it all down. Now, every time I run the 3 commands that I'm going to do here at the same time, I got errors. So what I did was I discovered that doing them separately, now see we're getting package not located. Now that has happened in the past as well. Okay, so I don't know why the package is not located. So these are the things. So this worked okay last time, and now it's not working this time. So these, I'm gonna probably have to, I'll struggle on and we'll see how we go. Let's try another one first. So install module assistant. So let's try that one. So that one's installing. Now we'll try the build essential. Still not working. Apt install DKMS. So we'll try the build essential again. Let's see, this is my error because it's not installing because I forgot to put a dash. I thought it was just a space. Rightio, that's user error. Hey, there you go. See what happens when I try to do things without my notes. You definitely need your notes. So now that's the way we do it. So I don't think it matters what order you install them as long as they're installed. So we're going to close the terminal down and I'm going to restart. Okay, so we are up and running. So what we need to do now is we'll open the terminal once again, su dash space dash, enter password. Okay, so the recommended is m-a prepare, but I think this is an old command because it doesn't seem to make any difference. See, it says build essentials already installed, so it must have been something to do with that before, but we've already done that, so I might update my notes on that one. So now to get the VirtualBox working, normally you can, so what it recommends is sh, well actually what we need to do is we need to now, let's just unscale that for a minute. So what we need to do is devices and insert guest additions. Now I won't bother to run it because normally it doesn't run anyway. So we'll rescale that. Do not ask me again, please. Okay, so we're going to /media. So tab key, CD, tab key, cdrom, and / and VB is both capitals, box, Linux with a capital, Linux additions. Now you have to type all, if I press tab key, for some reason this doesn't auto-complete. I don't know why, somebody might know why, but this doesn't auto-complete. So you have to type this in manually. VBox Linux additions .run. Enter that. I'm going to unscale that. And there we have our full screen in VirtualBox with Debian 9.6. So let's close the terminal. Let's full screen that. I can't remember what the full screen was. Host and F. Yeah, I should have known that, shouldn't I? There we go. Didn't quite work, did it? Let's try that again. And there we go. So now we have Debian installed, fully updated. And let's just have a quick look around on this desktop and see what's here. Let's go to all. Now, the other thing is, if you have a look at this artifact here, what we'll do in that situation is, let's just shut this down for a minute, power off. Okay, so what we're going to do here is go to the settings and display and uncheck enable 3D acceleration. And that should stop that artifact happening there. So if we go to the full screen menu now, you'll find that we're not getting that issue. So it's just better to turn off the 3D acceleration for that purpose. And these issues can happen in Virtualbox, no doubt. So let's just have a quick look around. For example, LibreOffice is at 5. So we do have fairly old applications in Debian. That's normal, 5.2.7.2. I think we're up to about 6.1 or something with LibreOffice. And what else have we got in here? Firefox extended, I think it's an extended version. And help and about Firefox is 60.4 ESR. So that it looks like they've updated the Firefox one. And of course, files. Oh yeah, we've got it up here in about 3.2, 2.3. What are we up to? 3.3 or something. I know Gnome's up to 3.3. I think files roughly follows that. Cannot remember exactly. And what have we got here? GIMP 2.8. So that's been 2.8 for a while. We're now up to 2.10. Windows single window mode. Okay. So it's not uncommon for a few distros, even on the 1804 at the moment, to be on GIMP 2.8 anyway. So that's not a huge deal. So besides those, you probably find that everything's, it's a little bit slightly behind because that's what Debian's all about. Debian's all about reliability. The other thing I want to show you around is, let's have a look. Let's start up Firefox. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to a place called sources.list generator. Be something like that. So you got here sources.list generator for Debian. The official Debian repos, it's saying this one here, it will give you that repo. Why has it gone directly to there anyway? I don't know. So okay, so this is where it should have come. So we're using stable stretch at the moment. Now I believe Debian is at the point where it's almost putting out a new release anyway. So what we can do here is you can choose your include source, contrib, non-free security updates and backports. You can choose the adapter GTK theme if you wish. Debian multimedia. Now there's a few other things you can select here. I'll just select the things that I would select if this was on a real hardware. I would probably choose Google Chrome browser in case I need it. I'm trying to use Firefox as much as I can, but you just never know when you may need another browser. Papirus GTK theme, I like that one, that's good. You can choose to install Skype if you want to install Skype, Spotify, Steam. So this team viewer, Virtualbox if you're on real hardware. So what we can do there is we press the generate button. It'll generate what we need for the Debian sources for your SID version or your stretch version. So Before we do anything, we need to install these things here. I think there's one of them that doesn't work. So su space dash enter and your password. I'm pretty sure, that's why I do one at a time, because if one of them doesn't work, it just brings up an error. So we'll do one at a time. It's probably not the most efficient way of doing it, but there's probably a way of putting these commands in and telling it to avoid any errors or whatever, but yeah, I'll just do it one at a time for myself at the moment. Arrow up, paste, it's done. Now it looks like they all worked. It's unusual. So okay, so that's worked. While we're in a root on the terminal, I'm not going to bother with these repos at the moment. It's the main repos. The unofficial repos is what we're probably interested in. Maybe some of these as well. We're mainly interested in these ones here, so let's copy that. And we'll go a nano etc apt sources.list. And we'll go down here, enter and paste all that in. So let's have a look at our mirrors. So we'll put in the recommended ones, but what we'll do is we'll actually comment out the existing ones at the moment. And then we'll go up one and we'll copy these. So we'll start it from the official Debian Repos so we know where we're at. Copy that. Paste. So we've got all those, but what I might want to do is change them to the RNet one. So that's full screen out. Let's full screen this so we can see what we're doing here. So let's have a look. So what I've done is I've changed the main mirror to point to where I was pointing the other ones, which was these ones here, the main ones. I could probably do that to this one, but I might just leave that as recommended from the generator. So I'm going to save that. So Control O and then enter, it saves, and then Control X. So the big thing here will be to see whether or not an update works. So we need to apt update and see what happens. Hopefully we don't get any errors. So the signatures couldn't be verified. That's fine. We'll go back and, because we haven't imported the keys yet. So we'll go back to here and we'll import all these keys, GPG keys. Probably should have done that first anyway. Now what I've found is not all these keys work for some reason, which can be a bit annoying. So that's passed, so that's all right, that's all done. So now we'll try another apt update. That's arrow up or arrow down to go back to the start, arrow up to go back to your previous commands. So we've got a couple of GPG errors. That always happens, I'm not sure why. So let's go to the software center and see whether we have the Papirus icons up for grabs. So there's nothing found. So we'll go to Synaptic. May not find it in the software center, but definitely find it in Synaptic, but did have an error, so it may not be in there. Oh, Papirus icon theme, there it is. To be installed, unchanged. Okay, let's apply that. Okay. So that worked. I'm not sure about these errors. Let's check these errors out. Google Chrome, GPG error, Papirus. Couldn't be verified because the public key is not available. No public key. So what's the public key we try to put in? Definitely not that one. Let's have a look at that website again. So from my experience, these are the things that I find to be a little bit odd with Debian. So now it's imported. Okay, so now they're imported. So I don't know, maybe the update did that. Not really sure. So now we've got the keys there. So that's all good. I don't know whether it's timing or what with Debian sometimes. Let's close the terminal. So let's have a look at, let's go to settings. We've got the tweak tool there. Appearance, icons, Papirus. So let's have a look at the icons. They've all changed. It's now looking a lot better. The shell theme. Now, if we go to extensions, this just your normal Gnome desktop install has a huge amount of extensions by default. Not all of them are switched on, or none of them are switched on actually. So let's have a look at some of the other things that we've put in the sources.list. So with the multimedia, what we can do is there's a website called amp up your multimedia. This is a pretty good little website here. Don't need to worry about adding the repos because we've already done that. But what it gives you is the commands to install all the necessary things that you need for your multimedia. In other words, all this stuff here. So let's try that, copy that, and go back to our terminal, su space dash enter and password. and you'll probably find that all this stuff should install without any issues. That's for GStreamer, MP3 playback, so for audio, MP3 playback, we do that one there. DVDs, libDVD CSS2. And that's done. Now, Blu-ray, I don't normally do Blu-rays, but if you've got a Blu-ray, you can go ahead and do that. And then you've got all these other ones here. So, Kodi and VLC. Could probably do VLC because I believe that brings in some extra dependencies maybe needed for multimedia. So, we'll do that anyway. And that should cover your multimedia. Now, the one thing I don't know is how the backports work. I'm not quite sure about that. So I'm pretty sure that we definitely had the backports installed. Other locations, computer, Etsy, apt, sources.list. Let's have a look at that. You actually have to open with the text editor, otherwise it takes you directly to the Synaptic. So open with other application, view all and text editor. No, that didn't work out right, did it? Didn't want LibreOffice Writer. Text editor, select. Right. So, so we've got the backports there. So I'm not quite sure how we get to those backports. So I don't have a lot of experience with backports, but we could certainly have a quick look. How to install applications with backports on Debian. Okay, there you go. So that's interesting. So Debian isn't going to prioritize the backports repository by default. The assumption here is that you're going to use backports for new versions of specific packages, but you don't want to update your entire system. That's great. That's actually a good policy to institute when working with the backports repo, but there's certainly nothing wrong with installing everything in the repository. It's all tested to work with Debian stable. So when you want to install a package from backports, you can use the -t flag. So let's give that a go and see how that works. So su space and password. So we don't need to do sudo. So apt install -t stretch -backports LibreOffice. Alright, so that looks like that's complete. Was that an error there? Apt had planned for DPKG to do more than it reported back. Affected packages LibreOffice common. Okay, I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but let's have a look. We'll do a restart. Now you got good stability with Debian 9.6, plus if you add the backports you can get those up-to-date applications that that you need. You probably don't need everything up to date, but you certainly LibreOffice and things like that are pretty good to have up to date anyway, because they've got the newer features. So it's always good to have the newer features in an Office program. So let's have a look, see if we are up to date with that. I'm not really sure if we are. I like to look at Calc because that's my favourite. So there it is there. And yes, we're up to date. Very nice. So yes, so that's good. So you can continue to use Debian with some update packages using the backports. That's pretty good. You've definitely got an older version of Gnome. Let's go to About. I'm pretty sure we've got an About on here somewhere. Details. And Gnome 3.22.2. I know I was using, I think, the one that came with it's MX. I think I installed Gnome on MX, and that had that little notification down the bottom here. So that's, I don't know, a lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was quite handy actually. Maybe it gets annoying after a while, I'm not sure. But that's worked out pretty well. So now the other thing we can do if we want to update to unstable, I think it's unstable, which I've tried. Now I may have to drop this VirtualBox down for a minute so I can access my Firefox and have a look at Linux tips and tricks, or was it problem solving? Debian upgrade stretch to SID, which is unstable. Now this guy here says that this is the best way to do it, is to, you have the stable in here as well, stretch main, so you change these to SID, and then you leave these to stretch updates and stretch main contrib and non-free contrib there, and the same with the updates. So they run in tandem, and I tried that and it was working okay. So if I was to have a look at my sources.list, what was the name of this? That's Reddit stretch to SID. Let's see if we can find that in the VirtualBox because it's easier to work with. And there we go. So he recommended that was the best way to do it. Now I think I had another website as well. Now if I go to my, let's have a look. Now there was this one here as well. I'm not sure where that was, but this guy here says, go to sources.list. File should look like this. Change the first line to this. Replace the entire second line with this, and so forth. So that was one of them I came across, but this one here definitely worked pretty well. Now, having said that, now that I've got the backports and I know how to tunnel the backports through with certain applications, that may not be necessary. But if you want to run unstable and have the Gnome desktop and all your applications all up to speed, then I suggest that you use the mini ISO of Debian, which I've downloaded. So if we have a look at that, I downloaded a mini ISO, Debian 9.6 mini ISO installer, and when you install that, you can choose to install the SID unstable directly from that. That way you're not messing around with repositories, trying to get them right, and then it breaks, and that'll probably happen after you've downloaded everything, which is probably a gig or so. This thing will download everything from the internet, just like doing an update on your stable version, and you can do it that way. Now, somebody had a video that was DistroTube, so Derek from DistroTube, he had a video on that, so I might link that below if you want to have a look at how he went about that. But this was just, I thought I would show how to get your desktop up and running with Debian. If you just want to run, if you're okay with the older desktop, although it's bringing out another release now, so the desktop might be up to par. So I'm not sure what version they'll be up to on the new release. So I may do another video on this, But that was just the things that I found is the best way to get Debian running, and fairly much trouble-free. There is a few little hiccups there here and there. You just got to just persevere with it a bit. I know you got to wrestle with it a bit. Maybe it's my lack of understanding of how the repos work. I'm not sure, but I'm sure there's some people there that will be able to tell me what I've done wrong in this video, possibly. And that would be good, because all the information I get and all the knowledge is all the better. So that is Debian 9.6 install. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found this very informative and helpful if you're thinking about going the Debian way. And thank you for watching.